This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for November 24th, 2024. This is season 14, episode number 22. And this is episode number 461 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for the last couple episodes of the Power Play Post Show, tuning in and making them some of the higher listened to broadcasts. I know that there is a reason for that. There was controversy and there was excitement involving a game in Danbury, and there was a lot of stuff to break down and talk about, and we'll probably continue to talk about the impacts of that game last week in Danbury, where at the 3:42 mark of the third period, a beer was thrown from the stands onto the players, and then all ruckus kind of broke out. And we'll talk a little bit more about that because I think it did impact the game on the 23rd, which was last night in Danbury. Again, Binghamton and Danbury playing 3 games in a row in the Danbury Ice Arena. Now, if you think about it, this means that a good portion of those games in Danbury are over, and the Black Bears can kind of really move on. And, of course, they got Danbury this upcoming Wednesday, and that is going to be something that they'll have to get through that. And there's still some adversity for the Binghamton Black Bears that they're going to have to take a look at. But before we get to the regular parts of the show, I just want to thank everybody who congratulated me on being nominated for the Rink of Dreams Hall of Fame 2025 induction ceremony. I want to be honest with all of you first. When I first got the message from Barry, I did not respond back immediately. I was taken back a little bit because I'm not a former player, not even a former referee. I have never worked for a team, even though unofficially I've done color for the Black Bears and for the Manchester Monarchs in the AHL. Yes, I have created something that is positive for Binghamton hockey, and the Power Play Post Show has done some pretty good things, I think, for minor pro hockey. I do appreciate that. But I didn't think that I deserved to be thought of in that way. That's hard for me. I don't take compliments well, even though I look for accolades for some reason. I don't take them very well when they're officially given to me. But when I thought about what Barry Shelley has done, there is not a minor pro hockey or a minor pro sports Hall of Fame anywhere. And there are a lot of people who have done some great work in the minor leagues throughout their careers, whether it be broadcasters, whether it be print media, whether it be people who have just taken the time to care enough about minor pro sports, whether it's baseball, the D-League and basketball, or hockey. There are a lot of people who've dedicated a lot of their time and efforts, and Barry has put together one of the really coolest things. Now, he talks about the Utica Comets a lot. He got me so excited about the Mohawk Valley Comets, who were, an EHL team for a long time, and just, they have a great name and a great legacy up there in the Utica area. And Barry has done some great things. He's talked to, like myself, a lot of people in minor pro hockey. When we're speaking of that, he's already inducted into the Rink of Dreams Hall of Fame. Someone who I idolized as a kid, Roger Neal, and I absolutely will go back to 2011, and I know that I was asked to come on Fox 40 because of a friend of mine, Jeff Horn, who works for Fox 40, and he knows who I am. We work together at Circuit City, and I know that's the reason why I got the opportunity. Jeff knew that I was doing the hockey stuff, and he and his family are just some of the most amazing people in the world, and he thought of me. He had Eric Columbia reach out to me, who Eric already knew who I was because we were both media members here in Binghamton covering the Binghamton Senators. And when Eric reached out, I said, of course, yeah, I'd love to come on and do stuff. This was the first time ever doing TV, and all of my really bad speaking habits came back. As I mentioned in my article on my personal Facebook, I took speech therapy when I was a kid because I had a hard time saying certain words, and I still struggle with that today, and I apologize to people. But even 2011, I said trophy instead of trophy on air, but I got to sit at the same table with Roger Neal. And to me, that voice and what he's done in Binghamton sports, he was also the basketball radio play-by-play for Binghamton University, which is absolutely amazing. And, of course, Dusters and Whalers radio broadcaster, just an idol, a hero, whatever you want to call it. I just, really love the man and everything that he's done. I have also kept my distance from Roger Neal to make sure that because I know me, I don't fanboy over a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of hockey players. I've talked to a lot of players that have gone to the NHL, and I don't fanboy over them, but I'd probably fanboy with Roger Neal and ask him a bunch of dumb questions about the Bruin Dusters, and I would never want to put him through that because I respect him so much. Grady Wittenberg is another person who, first of all, number one, I wouldn't have been able to do the show without Grady in the beginning. 3 straight years, Grady Wittenberg was a part of the show. And, the only regret I have in the last 20 years was I did not go to the game where Grady was inducted into the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame. It is one of my biggest regrets. But Barry has put together this great collection of minor league pro hockey memorabilia. He's got stuff that comes in. I think the one thing that I would love if he could ever get his hands on would be the Lockhart Trophy, which is the one that I believe was what the Dusters and the Johnstown Jets and the Syracuse Blazers back in the old North American Hockey League. Basically the story behind Slapshot. That trophy has been missing for a long time. I think the last time it was the coach of the Syracuse Blazers, who I think was the last team to win it. It was with him and has disappeared, and nobody knows where it is. There's actually stories on the internet about it, which is amazing. But Barry's put together a big collection. The Rink of Dreams is at his house, and it's this beautiful attic that he's turned into this mecca of minor league pro hockey. There's so many cool things. I probably don't think he's got everything out that he probably has. But the fact that he would include me in that is amazing. One of the things that he did say in his release is that I've been covering hockey since we've had hockey. That is untrue. I have been covering hockey since 2003 when I did start BinghamtonHockey.net, and then in 2004 when I started the Power Play Post Show. But we do have information on BinghamtonHockey.net that goes all the way back to the Dusters, and I have some stuff here that I still haven't put up, some pictures that we've been acquiring and that we want to put up of some of the players from the Dusters days, which is pretty cool. And I've even got some really cool pictures from the Binghamton Rangers that I want to put up. So Barry and I are similar in that sense. We are trying to save minor league pro hockey history in the ways that we can. And he has a lot of people following him on his Facebook group, Rink of Dreams. And it's just an honor, and it's just so very sweet. And he told me about this, and we talked about it, and he announced it on my mom's birthday, which was yesterday. And we haven't had my mom for the last 4 years. She passed in July of 2020. And believe it or not, I thought about my wife and my mom immediately and said, oh, I can't. And then I realized I can't talk to my mom about it. I can't tell her about it. So, obviously I told my wife, and I made the post on Facebook. And Gary Ryan, regardless whether you know it or not, you're definitely going to the Rink of Dreams during the Hall of Fame ceremony. You're going to be able to get to meet some of the people that I know that you idolize as well in Binghamton hockey history. But I want you to be there to see it, because this reincarnation of the Binghamton or the Power Play Post Show wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Gary Ryan. And Gary, I think, knows this or doesn't know this, but I was thinking about bringing back the show, and then he was thinking about stopping talking about the Binghamton Black Bears podcast that he was doing at the time, and it just made sense. He went to talk about all the league, and I was going to just cover the Binghamton Black Bears. Now, understand, I've had other people on the show from like Carolina and Columbus, broadcasters. I'm hoping to have maybe Jeff Barrett from the Watertown Wolves come on the show this week because of the games against the Watertown Wolves that will happen this next Friday and Saturday after Thanksgiving. And but Gary was a big part of me bringing this back. In a way, he doesn't, I think, realize that, but there was this whole timing thing that just made sense for both of us. He went to go cover the whole Fed, and I decided to cover the Black Bears. Now, there hasn't, bringing this all back is great, and I think it's where Barry finally, saw that I was doing this and then learned more about the show and BinghamtonHockey.net and what I've done. I've recently also talked to the people who run the the Binghamton Sports Foundation Hall of Fame, which I'm sure you've seen. They do auctions on the concourse. I've talked to them most recently. I hope that I can work with them a little bit more in the future and maybe be a part of some of the events that they do. I would really be interested in doing that because, again, hockey's brought so much joy to me. It really has. And I'm really honored. I'm taken back a little bit by it. I know that there are some people that don't like what I do, that are not fans of my coverage of the Binghamton Black Bears, people very close to the Black Bears. And it's moments like this that make me realize I'm still doing the right thing. Even if they don't care for my work, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to still continue to do this work. I almost didn't do this show tonight because of the effect that sometimes people have on other people. They don't realize it, but it's true. I've only done what I thought was the best to tell the stories of the Binghamton Black Bears players and even the games. And why do these games matter in November or October or in the middle of February where everybody's just sick of the cold and they don't? There's reasons why. I've watched enough hockey and I've watched enough sports to understand the psychology sometimes of these games, how they have an impact on players and teams and winning championships. This is something I know. I don't know necessarily the X's and O's all that great when it comes to hockey. I mean, I know all the rules, right? But the things that Brant Sherwood thinks about probably in his sleep, which is disgusting, but most coaches are like that. They think about these things. How can we improve on this system or that system? How can I get these guys and the personnel to do that? That's not my thing. That's why I'd never be a good coach, right? Because I'd be just telling them, you're doing it wrong. You need to do it the right way. And I wouldn't be able to explain that, right? Break-ins, dump and chase, things of that nature. When you have odd man rushes, I can see the odd man rush. I can see how it's done. But the terminology and being able to explain it to players, I'd never be able to do that, right? So I don't try. And but I realize that there's some people that just don't care for what I do. And that's fine. You don't have to listen or even pay attention to anything I do. I am still going to tell the stories of players when they allow me to, and some have said no, and I'm okay with that. And I just, I was going to do it, but then I realized, what, I really want to talk about this last game, because this last game just is an example of how even 7 days later, a team can be affected by something that happens beforehand. And people say, oh, no, momentum is not a real thing. Momentum really is a real thing, okay? And momentum can come from all different places. And that's the cool thing about sports. Some people will say, oh, it's just about the play on the ice or on the field, right? The Dallas Cowboys weren't supposed to beat the Washington Redskins, not with Cooper Rush, not with Dak out, all that stuff. And yet they won 30-29, not because Washington's not a good team, but because there were things that happened in that game that affected the whole game. Missed field goals. Dallas started off having three drives and which hasn't happened at all for any team this season in the whole league, a missed field goal, a blocked field goal, and then a punt. There hasn't, until week 11 or whatever it is, 12, the first time this season that's happened. Yet, the Cowboys still won the game by 1 point. So the Black Bears, the psychology into last week, it's not just that they won 4-0. That would have been great. I think if they would have won 4-0, nobody throws a beer. There's no suspensions. Kyle Steffen is still there. Brant Sherwood is calling the shots on the bench. That game is different. Yeah, Johnny Ruiz came to play, and he did well. Yes, Alexander Gamzatov came to play. Right? But that wasn't the Black Bears that we're used to. That wasn't the Black Bears. They walked into that arena, and none of them would admit it. And that's absolutely fine. I completely understand. You got to have confidence. You got to have like an ego, so to speak, right? But they walked into that thinking, what are the Danbury fans going to do? And what did the Danbury fans do? They wore ponchos. They had these umbrella hats. Hilarious. Funny, great sense of humor by the Section 102 fans and some other fans. Actually, I think in Section 103, they're the ones that had the umbrella hats on. Hilarious. Great job by them. But they did affect the game. They did affect the game from the week before because there were suspensions. There is a catalyst. There's a domino effect of what happened. And it did affect the Binghamton players. And that's fine. It's fine. It's one game. It's adversity. You learn from it and you move on. Right? And so I think the Black Bears coming into Wednesday's game, they're not going to do the same things. Now, of course, Cam Clark was called up, so you have different reasons that the Black Bears didn't win that game. And again, Gamzatov, Johnny Ruiz. And let's be honest, the Black Bears still put up, 40 shots in the game? Connor McCollum, if you give him a lead, he's going to... The Black Bears came back a lot last year. And they played Danbury 18 times. So, of course, in 18 times, you're going to come back on a team. But this year, they're only going to play Danbury 11 times. And I think that Connor McCollum is a better goaltender this year than he was last year. His numbers might not be better yet because Danbury hasn't been the team that they could be. There are a lot of elements into this game. All right, I have been rambling. Let's get into the must-reads. Either way, Barry Shelley, thank you so much for the honor. I appreciate it. I cannot wait to come up and see all the people at the Rink of Dreams at the Hall of Fame. And to the fans, all of you who have stuck with me and who believe in what we do here at the Power Play Post Show, and maybe even BinghamtonHockey.net, thank you for all of the well wishes. I love it. I appreciate it. I'm not good with compliments and understanding what they mean, but I 100% appreciate everything you guys did. All right. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to the podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search for Power Play Post Show and share any of our post to your friends, but you can't do that because it's locked down. So I really need to change that. Please just share the group with all your friends so they can join as well. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, hey, we got 6 more questions with Binghamton Black Bears defenseman Cam Cervone. Love this guy. Love the kind of player he's starting to become here for the Binghamton Black Bears on the blue line. All right, so we've talked about it. We know the Black Bears lose their second regulation game of the season by the score of 7-4. Let's run through how this happened. All right, in the first period, after the Black Bears were caught out of position with Austin Thompson having to get a new stick, he got back into the play, which was great, but unfortunately not in time, and the hat tricks were set up, and they were able to set up, and Chase Harwell got a pass over to Johnny Reeves, who scored the game's first goal at the 131 mark of the first. Now, of course, that's a really quick goal to have. And the hat tricks kind of did that. There were 2 things about what the hat tricks were able to do in this game against the Black Bears that teams normally couldn't do. One thing is they scored early in periods, and number 2, they were able to come back after Binghamton scored a goal and scored quickly to kind of nullify that goal. Hat tricks did that twice in that game. Again, I think there are a lot of circumstances why the Black Bears lost that game. But with Jacob Ratcliffe in the box for the hat tricks for tripping, the Black Bears scored 19 seconds into the power play off the stick of Donald Oliveri with 9:29 to go in the first period. All right, so we have a tie game. The hat tricks then take the lead at the 14:02 mark of the first after an Alexander Gamzatov goal, making this a 2-1 lead. All right. In the first period, Nolan Egbert went 120 minutes of shutout hockey before Johnny Reeves scored in the first period. Basically, he ended up 120 minutes of shutout hockey from last weekend to this weekend. Awesome. Great thing for Nolan. I think consecutive minutes, he has the lead, but we'll see how Connor McAnanama does. But Connor's is really non-consecutive at this point because Nolan played these last 3 games. All right, through the first 10:30 of the first period, the Black Bears were being outshot 11-1. That was a little concerning, right? Because they just couldn't get their footing. I think the new line combinations, because Cam Clark was out, and of course Kyle Steffen were suspended. He was suspended. I think that affected the line combinations, and they just couldn't get things going in that first 11 minutes of the period. The hat tricks are definitely playing with their foot on the gas. They were. Johnny Reeves is the main lead on that charge, which he normally is. When the hat tricks play well, it's because Johnny Reeves played well. I don't think anyone, not even the Black Bears, are happy about the play in that first period. The Black Bears are going to need to rally in the second period, which we did see that they did pretty decently. In the second period, scoring in the second straight game for the Black Bears and tying the game up with 34 seconds into the middle frame was Black Bears defenseman Dan Stone. The hat tricks pulled ahead again quickly after the Black Bears tie up the game as Gamzatov scored his second goal of the game just 1 minute and 8 seconds after the Dan Stone goal. Then, just 1 minute and 33 seconds later, the hat tricks take a 2-goal lead with another 2-on-1 breakdown. That happened too many times in this game, and Noah Robinson got a goal. Another odd man rush after that, after the Black Bears had some sustained pressure, led to another goal for the hat tricks, scoring this time by Van Durken at the 10:39 mark of the second period. So all that happened, all those goals happened in the first 11 minutes of that second period, which was really just a Black Bears goal and then the hat trick scoring 3 goals. So not the best of periods, I think, for the Black Bears. Still, again, probably, playing well for maybe 5 or 6 minutes in the first, 5 or 6 minutes in the second, and then really it was all Danbury otherwise. The Black Bears scored first in the period, and then the hat tricks were determined to not let the Black Bears have any control of the puck for sustained periods. That is something the hat tricks did really well that the Black Bears are going to have to work on for Wednesday's game. How many odd man rushes is the Black Bears going to let teams score on them? Though last season this wasn't an issue because really I believe that Brant Sherwood put systems in place to help slow that down. It has become an issue again this season. We've seen a few games where the odd man rushes have really hurt the Black Bears. When they don't give an odd man rush this season, they dominate puck control. That is not happening in this game at all, and it did not. The Black Bears got the slight lead in shots during the middle period, but I think they were missing the presence of Cam Clark and Kyle Steffen. I don't think Brad Sherwood is happy with what he's seeing from his squad so far, and I truly believe that. All right, so shots on goal in the second period, 16-14. Binghamton at this point was behind by 5 shots on goal, 26 total for the whole game, and 31 shots for Danbury. Okay, in the third period, with Vadim Frolov in the penalty box for tripping, Donald Oliveira scored his second power play goal of the game just 5:37 into the third period, making this a 5-3 hat-tricks lead. And this is the point where everybody was like, okay, it's another third period comeback for the Black Bears. However, the Black Bears could not sustain pressure, and the hat-tricks make the lead 3 goals again. 1 minute and 2 seconds after the Oliveira goal, this time by Johnny Ruiz. So again, the Black Bears start to make headway, and the hat-tricks come back. Again, the Black Bears get the game back to 2-goal deficit off the stick of Austin Thompson with 5:12 left in the go in the game. But as you already know, the hat-tricks finished off the Black Bears and made this a 7-4 loss after Corey Anderson scored the hat-trick's 7th tally within 2 minutes and 27 seconds left to go in the game. The Black Bears got more into a rhythm in the third period and had better chances and seemed to not turn the puck over too much. Through the first 15 minutes of the period, the Black Bears were outshooting the hat-tricks 14-5. Again, a little bit more of the way the Black Bears normally play in the third period, which was good, but maybe too little, too late. In that case, the Black Bears had one of those games where a few moments of the game they played well, but a lot of the game the Black Bears were outplayed by the hat-tricks. With the team down, Clark called up to the SPHL and Steffen suspended for 2 games. I think there was a change in the lines that altered the team's chemistry and how they were able to react to Danbury. Lastly, though they gave up too many odd man rushes that led to 2 of the goals, in the third, I only counted 1 odd man rush. So they improved on that in the third period as well. But they also handled the puck better. They got a little bit more better pressure. The Black Bears and the hat-tricks meet again, but in Binghamton on Wednesday at the arena at 6 p.m. Shots on goal. Total was Binghamton 42, Danbury 40. Black Bears did outshoot the hat-tricks in the third period by a 16-9 mark. I think there was a lot of elements. There was shifting in the rosters and the lines. That was a change. Of course, Coach Sherwood had to make those changes, right? Steffen is suspended for 2 games. He'll finish his last game on Wednesday. And then, of course, Cam Clark was called up, right? So you have reasonings why that happened, okay? So, again, I'm not going to harp on it. It's a loss. Big deal. Second loss in just 13 games, right? Second regulation loss in 13 games. So they are 8-1-1 in their last 10, which is not bad. Now, they are in second place in the Empire Division. And the reason why they're in second place in the Empire Division is because Watertown Wolves have been on fire. Now, first thing I want to say about the Watertown Wolves, they've scored the most goals in the league at the moment. They have played 12 games, so they have played a decent amount of games, 1 less than the Binghamton Black Bears and the Port Huron Prowlers, who are both at 13. Baton Rouge has also played in 13 games. But Watertown is scoring a lot of goals. They have 71 goals for right now. Just for instance, the Black Bears are second in the division. They have 54 goals that they have scored. So Watertown is playing good. And so not that we need to overlook Danbury and get to Watertown, but there has to be a thought process here that on Tuesday's practice for the Black Bears, you have to think about not only just Danbury. You have to think about what's coming up afterwards, which is 2 games against the Watertown Wolves, okay? And Watertown has 29 points in 12 games, and the Black Bears have 28 in 13 games. And 71 goals for. They've also done a pretty good job goaltending and keeping the puck out of the net for their opposing team. Only 32 goals that they've given. Basically, their differential right now is a plus 39, and Binghamton's is a plus 15. Everybody else is in the minus below them in the division. That tells me right now that Watertown and Binghamton are the top of the Empire division for sure. And I expected maybe Watertown would play good for a few games and then falter. They have not faltered. So that is interesting. That is part of what's coming up this upcoming weekend, right? Because Wednesday you've got obviously the Danbury Hat Tricks at home, but then you have Thursday off because it's Thanksgiving. And then you go immediately and play Watertown in a home-and-home series. All right. Baton Rouge is also playing pretty good right now. They have 6 regulation wins, 9 total for 25 points. So right now, Binghamton and Watertown are the top 2 teams in the league. And it's interesting to see because I think Binghamton has some adversity. They have some changes in the roster that might even be coming up in the next week or 2. There might be something announced on Tuesday about a player change that you guys will hear about. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not saying anything more, but that should be announced by Tuesday. And so the Black Bears have some adjusting to do. They have to get through adversity. But again, that's the whole point of going through and playing these games. You have to go through some of these adversities. And Black Bears did that last year, right? And we're only 13 games into the season. There is time to fix things. Remember last year when Gavin Yates was out on suspension and Farrell went out and he was suspended and we were down men and we still performed well in those. And I think the Black Bears will do that here. The one thing I like about the suspensions to the head coaches doesn't take them away from their teams throughout the weeks and for practices. They can talk to them beforehand on game days, get them prepared. That's the important thing. They can make sure that guys are going to be safe, and that's really important. So Brant Sherwood still has his claws, so to speak, on this team, and he will. Okay. So again, the team has only lost twice in regulation. Once was against the Watertown Wolves at home in the home opener, 5-3. That was the only other regulation loss until last night, where they lost 7-4. So last night's regulation loss was the biggest deficit that they've lost by 3 goals. That Watertown one was only 2. And then the only other loss that they have this season, and this is important, is the shootout loss against the Danbury Hat Tricks. And you are not going to beat Danbury every single game. So you have to take everything from Saturday's game and kind of throw it out the window. It's kind of like one of those games where if you take the laws of average, you take out the best, you take out the worst, and then what do you have in the middle? Well, if you take out the worst and the best, right? So we'll take away the 4-0 shutout. We'll take out the 4-7 loss in the last 2. You still have a pretty damn good team. And you have a pretty good record, so to speak. And the record is still good today. So I think that's it. Listen, thank you, everybody, for saying, and the congratulations and all that. Thank you, Barry, if you're listening. I know you listen to some of the podcast. I appreciate it. And I think the Black Bears will be fine going into Wednesday. Sure, it's adversity. That's what this is all about. Sports is all about adversity, and it's just the way it works. And good teams get through the adversity, and they improve, and they get better. And I think the Black Bears are going to do that. Now, do I know that they're going to get destroyed by Watertown, or if Watertown is going to get destroyed by the Black Bears? No, I don't. Maybe Binghamton and Watertown, instead of Watertown having some high-scoring games the upcoming weekend, maybe it's a little bit more balanced, and we'll see how those games go. But either way, coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show, we're going to talk to, again, Cam Cervone. He's going to answer 6 more questions. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening. I hope everybody has a great holiday. I hope to have a show before Thanksgiving up there. I know we have a game on Wednesday, so it all depends on what I can do over the next couple days, and then we'll prep for basically the Watertown series. So we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
You're listening to the Power Play Post Show. Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. 6 more questions with Cam Cervone. Cam, you ready for these?
I'm ready.
All right. Excellent. Number 1, who is the greatest influence in your hockey playing career?
Definitely say my parents. Just the amount of sacrifice they've made to have me just play the game I loved. I can't thank them enough, and they've been very supportive throughout my career. And I can't say thank you enough.
In hockey, family is one of the biggest reasons that a hockey player either succeeds or isn't able to succeed, right? And you got to play your first pro game, 12 games ago, or just like 5-6 weeks ago. And a big part of the reason why you got to play your first game is because of your parents. It's that simple, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And they were able to come to the home opener and
good.
See that, and it definitely makes everything worthwhile. All the sacrifice. I'm sure for that on their side. So they even said that to me. I definitely a tearjerker there, but
sorry.
And that's all good though.
No, that's great though. Number 2, name one pregame ritual that you have to do before every game.
Ooh. Well, there's a lot of pregame rituals I do. I'm not going to lie.
Well, give us one that you do that maybe people don't know about.
You know what? This is one I have to stop at Starbucks or Dunkin' on the way to the rink before I get a coffee beforehand.
Really?
It's one thing I do. I like gotta get a little pregame jolt, a little caffeine and get ready for the game. So that's one thing I like to do. Yeah, that's a little pregame ritual there.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Number 3, vacation destination. Do you like the beach? Do you like camping or mountains or staycation? What is your favorite way to, be on vacation?
Definitely like a good Caribbean vacation. Be on the beach for a cruise. My dad's in the travel agency, so we've done a lot of travel industry, I should say. So he's been very fortunate to have a lot of travel within so a lot of the Caribbean's definitely my favorite. So
and I was just going to ask you, what was your favorite place to go visit? And so anywhere in the Caribbean's good for you, right?
Anywhere in the Caribbean, anywhere you can sit on a beach or in the sun, and
excellent.
Just get away from everything, right? So
I think I have an idea on number 4, but number 4, outside of hockey. Is it MLB, NBA, NFL, MLS, PGA? What is your go-to sport outside of hockey?
Oh, definitely number 2 besides hockey is got to be the NFL.
Yeah.
I'd say a third. Oh, I'd say tied to 2 is college football and NFL.
Okay.
I'm a big Michigan fan.
Of course.
Obviously, winning the national championship last year.
Yep.
That was a good.
By the way,
to see.
I'm going to say it. Gophers. I'm a Golden Gophers fan of Minnesota. I think Weber is too. So Weebs is.
I would say you and Weebs are definitely on that train.
Yeah, yeah. I've had a lot of conversations with his father, and I'm going to try to get out there to a game next year because I haven't been to a Gophers game yet, and I think if I can get myself out there, I think I can get Papa Weebs to go with me and everything. Hopefully he's listening, and if we can make that work, that'd be awesome because I haven't been there yet. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of great college stadiums out there. I mean, there's tons. Penn State is a great one to go to. Obviously, where the Michigan Wolverines play, phenomenal atmosphere. But, I think Minnesota Golden Gophers, where they play, it's a great atmosphere as well. There's a lot of great college, stadiums out there, for sure.
For sure, especially in the Big Ten. You see in the SEC, there's definitely a lot of cool places I'd like to go see one day, especially after my hockey career is done. Definitely go. That's my goal, not only for college, but to go see a lot of MLB stadiums as well, and that'd be a cool little thing. So I guess third would be MLB.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. Very cool. All right, number 5, if you were picking a movie, would it be a comedy, drama, sci-fi, romantic, or horror?
Ooh, honestly, I'm going to have to go one comedy and close behind it's a rom-com.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
I like the rom-coms.
All right.
I do like the rom-coms.
Normally, I would say, all right, give me your favorite comedy, but now I want, because no one's picked romantic comedy or rom-com, give me your favorite romantic comedy.
It's easy, Wedding Crashers.
Oh, all right. Excellent.
With Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson.
Oh, no,
it's all-time classic.
It's a great movie.
That's definitely a comedy, and then close behind rom-com. There's a lot of good movies out there.
Oh, without a doubt. All right, number 6, and this is the best one. We've carried this one over from last season. A zombie apocalypse has broken out, and you're trapped in a hockey arena. Okay, you're trapped in a hockey arena. Who is the one person, dead or alive, fictional or non-fictional, that you'd like to have in the arena with you? And by the way, this is one of the toughest questions. Yeah, I was going to say this is one of the toughest questions for everyone. But it's always a fun one when someone finally gets their decision made. So, who would it be? Who would you want in the arena with you?
Ooh, figuring that in case something happens with a break-in, with the zombies, I'm guessing definitely. Seeing what he does in the movies, I'm assuming he'd do it. I'd actually go with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Really?
Just get it done. I don't know. It's the one thing that comes to my mind, and I feel like he just, obviously he's a big guy, and seeing his acting, I don't know if he does. Obviously doesn't do that in real life, but I figured he'd be a good frickin' or even like just help out. That's just the first thing that came to my mind there.
Well, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, he's got a few wrestling moves that he could do on the zombies if they break in. Number one, he could probably entertain you.
I think about that too.
He can entertain you. He's an actor, and I know he plays the ukulele and sings. So either way, you'd be entertained.
For sure. Yeah, he's entertained, and he's obviously a big guy, so he'd probably carry his weight for sure.
Without a doubt. Cam, thank you very much for coming on, talking to us on Thursday, and, of course, today here on our weekend wrap-up show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. Thank you again for all the congratulations about the Rink of Dreams 2025 Hall of Fame induction. I cannot wait to go up there and be a part of that. And, of course, I'll share some of that with all of you here on the Power Play Post Show. And, of course, the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. And thank you so much to all the people that joined this past couple of weeks. I know you did it because of all the stuff that was happening with the Black Bears and the Danbury Hat, but I do really appreciate it. And any of the fans that are, listening from Carolina and Columbus, thank you very much for tuning in as well. I know this is a show that is very Binghamton-centric, but again, I try to do it in a way that is compassionate to other teams as much as I can be. and really just kind of informative for the fans, especially our great fans here in Binghamton, New York. So I think with that being said, we'll just get right to it. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search for Power Play Post Show, and please join. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. Thank you to Rob Lapolis, our MC, John Petitucci, our musical director, as well as Binghamton Black Bears defenseman Cam Cervone for answering 6 more questions. Folks, I am Bob Howard. Thank you very much for listening. We'll talk to you guys again in just a few days right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.